John is meeting organist Alan Thurlow to find out what would have brought an army band leader to Chichester Cathedral.
What we have here are the chapter minutes, and what we managed to find is October in 1853. Would you like to read that?
Charles Bishop was admitted as a...
Probationer, that's...
Oh, probationer
yeah.
for the office of a lay vicar of this cathedral.
But of course, lay vicar is a deceptive title. It's actually a musical job. He came to sing in the choir.
So that title of a lay vicar means that you work within the church, but you're not necessarily
Yes.
a religious person.
One would hope that the people who come and sing in the choir have some feeling for what they're doing.
Yeah.
But the requirement of the job is a musical one, and it's quite a dedicated team. It's a small team with just 6 men, 2 altos, 2 tenors, 2 basses, and they're making music daily on a very high standard.
What I'd love to do is, if it's possible, is to see where he actually sang.
Yes, absolutely. That's downstairs in the cathedral. Shall we go down and look at that?
Mm-hmm.
The cathedral dates back to the 11th century, and evensong is still sung daily, as it has been for hundreds of years.
To be honest, I think that was quite an emotional experience, because it wasn't until I heard them sing that you realised not only how brilliant they are as singers, but how different they are. You know, there were 6 men there with different voices, so we would have had to have filled the gap that was available. But to actually sit there and listen to the song resonate, and think that he would have been singing it, he would have been singing like that. I don't know, it's like, you can almost touch it. The lady I was sat next to said that there's a saying that the walls here have had 900 years of people singing and people laughing and people crying. And when you sit here, it's just your turn to share it. And that's what it felt like. It felt like my turn to be in the same place that he was in. I mean, the atmosphere in this place is gorgeous, and I would imagine the difference is that you're a musician first, whereas in the army you're a soldier first who plays music, and is in the band here. You know, that's your job, to be a musician. That was obviously what he loved doing. So I think that gave him that sense of following his own, I suppose, his own passion, which is really odd when I think of my own journey, because he came to music relatively late in his army career. He was in the army for 7 years before he appears to be in the band. And then he decides to take a big chance by leaving the army to carry on being more of a musician than a soldier, which does mirror to some extent my own life.
But there was another side to Charles's musical career. Alan is taking John to Chichester's assembly room.
So this would have been the main place for him to come and play?
Yes.
It was here that Charles was able to break away from church music and make his mark as a popular musician and entertainer. The assembly room was at the heart of Chichester's lively social life, where fashionable society would gather for dances and to hear some of the most famous musicians of the day.
And we know this is the place, for example, they had balls to celebrate the Battle of Trafalgar and the coronation of William IV. It was a great social centre, as well as being used for all the concerts. But we've got in here some documents, some of the concerts that Charles Bishop took part in. So shall we just spread those out? We put ourselves down here. This first one, Hampshire Telegraph and Sussex Chronicle. And if you look here, there is a little bit about the concert and Charles Bishop.
There was a concert on Monday night. Not the least pleasing feature of the entertainment was the performance of 2 songs. On the cornet, a piston by Mr. Charles Bishop, the newly appointed vicar of the cathedral. The audience was not large, but fashionable.
That's a wonderful end, isn't it?
I've done loads of gigs myself where the audience hasn't been large,
but fashionable.
but certainly not been fashionable either.
And then there's another one. Let's move on here. The next one is in 1859.
How Goodwood races close as usual the ball, which was given on Friday last in the Assembly Room under the most distinguished patronage. Dancing commenced early and was kept up with spirit until the morning. The entire arrangements were under the superintendence of Mr. Charles Bishop and gave great satisfaction.
That's rather nice, isn't it?
It's a better review than some of the ones I've had. That is great, that, isn't it?
Yes. But actually, I mean, his reputation might have been slightly wider than that, because he also composed some music. And we've got some copies here of some of the works. There's a Watergate polka, and that's the original size of it. A lay vicar of Chichester Cathedral and a professor of the cornet a piston.
What instrument is this written for?
This is actually written for the piano.
All right. I mean, can we hear this?
Do you want to hear a little extract from it? Let's move across to the piano. So this is just the opening of this. It starts with an introduction. And then a kind of theme that comes and goes during the piece. And that gives you a kind of flavour. It's all sort of dancey type music.
You can imagine in this room people dancing to that.
Yes, yes, indeed.
In the style of Victor. It's
But
quite breathtaking because it's like hearing his voice, hearing his music. Yeah, I mean, as you're listening to it, it's impossible not to go ding, ding, ding,
Yes.
ding, ding, ding.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. That is beautiful. Can I keep that?
Yes. But the surprising thing, I think, to us is he'd moved here, he'd got his family and bringing them up here, and then in 1864 he moves away. And it's perhaps slightly a mystery because the chapter minutes show that he was actually given his notice by the cathedral.
So he was sacked?
And there is actually no reason given at all as to why. So we're left wondering what happened. Why did he fall out of favour? And why did he decide to move on?